Hello and welcome to episode 13 of the Creative Naturally podcast. My name is Bex and this podcast is documenting all of the crafty things that I like to create. It's mainly knitting at the moment, but there are some other bits and pieces that get put through of different crafts that I love to do. This is episode 13 and I'm very, very, very close to 500 subscribers on YouTube, which is super duper exciting. I will be doing a 500 subscriber giveaway when we do go over that number. So I'm really excited about that. I'm in a funny transitory place at the moment where I'll be moving to the countryside very shortly, in around about a week and a half, or even maybe less. A week and a day, I think. We'll be moving to my partner Tom's family property, which is 2 hours outside of Melbourne, and that'll be our home base for the next little while. So I'm really excited. I'm nervous because of the change, but I'm very excited. It's great for photoing, beautiful nature and all of the creative projects that I do. It's where I photograph most of those, so it'll be really lovely to be there and just be inspired by nature again. And I'll be going from kind of suburban Melbourne to very rural Victoria, Australia. So exciting changes that I will definitely be sure to tell you about on the next podcast. But for now, let's do the details. So you can find me on Instagram as @Bex_in_real_life. Will be on the screen just here. And you can also find me on Ravelry as Rebecca SJS. And I do project pages for all of my knitted projects and crocheted projects as well. And so if you want any more details about that, definitely head over to Ravelry and find me there. Project notes will be on Ravelry, and there'll also be podcast notes on my blog, which is creativenaturally.wordpress.com. It'll be on the screen underneath here. Talking about my blog, actually, I've had a couple of really exciting interviews over there, so it's really worth going and checking those out. I interviewed Isabel and Nick of the Great Ocean Road Woolen Mill a couple of weeks ago now, and the post is live with some really beautiful photos there as well. If you want to find out more about their amazing company, they are a very ecologically friendly small fibre mill and farm on the Great Ocean Road in Australia, so very close to where I live, around about 2 or 3 hours drive away. And it was so amazing to interview them. I've met them a couple of times briefly, so that was really lovely. And the second interview that has just gone live, I think a few days ago now, was an interview with Annie of Close Knit, which is a fantastic, knitting community. It's her kind of business where she does workshops and knitting patterns. She's an amazing lady. A bit of a kindred spirit with me. I really, really want to befriend her. One of those people that you want to sit down and just have a cup of tea and a cookie with and knit away. So if you would like to find out more about Annie of Close Knit, then you should definitely go and check her out. She's amazing. I'm sorry, I've got the loudest fridge in the universe, and I know you're going to be able to hear that, but I can't really do anything about it. So fingers crossed it's not too annoying for you. It will turn off eventually. I'm going to take a sip of my tea. This is my beautiful mug that I got in Wales when I was back home visiting my dad, who lives in Chester, just on the Welsh border. Made by a local potter. It's so pretty. Okay, so I have no project notes. My housemates left to go to lunch, and this is a very spur of the moment podcast. We're just going to wing it today. I have got 2 finished objects and some works in progress as well, and I'm pretty excited to show you my finished objects in particular. The first one was on the needles for a fair while. It was a big project. I think it was my first finished 4-ply jumper, I'm pretty sure. And it is my Stasis pullover. And this is it. I've been wearing it, so this is it, just here. This is a pattern by designer is Layla Raab, and it's a Brooklyn Tweed published pattern, so you can find it. I think, I'm not sure if it was one of the Wool People ones, I imagine so, but you can find it on the Brooklyn Tweed website, or you can just Ravelry search Layla Raab. And I knitted this out of Ella Ray, that's the name of the yarn. So Ella Ray was the main yarn, the main colour. It's a beautiful yarn that I got on when we were on sale at the wool shop that I am working at. I finish in a week, but that I'm currently working at. It's quite a dull plum. On my screen it's coming out a lot brighter than it actually is in real life, but hopefully it's a bit more true to life when I upload the video. Very similar to the colour of the dress that I'm wearing. Can you tell my favourite colours? So the main colour is Ella Ray. It's just a colour number, I'm not sure, but the variety of the yarn is the lace merino, she calls it, but it's a 4-ply yarn, or a fingering weight yarn if you're American. And the contrast colour, it was a superwash merino. I think both of them are superwash merinos, but the contrasting colour is Morris & Sons Empire 4-ply in the school grey, which is this really beautiful kind of blue grey tone that's just so pretty with this kind of dusty plum colour. So this pattern is a labour of love, you would call it. I did actually really enjoy working on it. There's enough colour work to keep it interesting, but not, it's definitely, you can knit through movies with it. There's a lot of stockinette in there as well. So it's got these beautiful little panels of colour work on both sleeves. It's also got a panel of colour work that goes all the way around the hem at the bottom. And there's also this beautiful yoke as well that goes around your shoulders. Really, really pretty. I pretty much knit it exactly. I can't remember the size that I knit, but it will say on my project page on Ravelry. I increased the length of the sleeves, so I added I did 20 rows of rib instead of, I think it was an inch of rib that they called for, so that extended the sleeves by maybe about an inch. I also did again 20 rows on the base, which I'm really glad about actually. I think I would have been very concerned with it had a very small amount of rib on the pattern, and I would be worried that that was going to roll back up. So I don't have that problem at all. This hasn't been blocked yet, I've just been wearing it. I don't have any large enough space to block something this big. So this is it unblocked, and it's really doing a great job of staying where it's supposed to stay. So yeah, what was I talking about? Yes, so I increased the rib to 20 rows on the hem as well, and I also did an extra inch on the length of the body. I don't know if I needed to do that. It's worked out a really lovely length. I think it would have also been fine if I'd done the length that the pattern called for anyway. But on the model, I think she must have quite a long torso because it looks very short on the model. On me, it works out really nicely. Stand up so you can see it kind of goes to, my hip is here, so it kind of does sit quite nice and low. Great with jeans. There we go, that's where my shoulder is. So it kind of goes to my hip is here, and it goes a little bit further than that. So really lovely length. I would, what did I want? I think next time I'd like to do a bit more short row shaping so that the back rises higher than the front. I think my gauge was a little bit out, as I remember, so I got to the point of the measurements that they call to starting the rib very early without being able to do the short rows at the back. So currently the back and the front are equal, and I do find that the front does sit quite high. It sits above my collarbone, and it kind of does feel a little bit, not tight, but just like I like my kind of crew necks to sit on my collarbone or even a little bit lower. So that's one thing that I would like to change next time. It's not enough that I wouldn't wear the jumper, but it is something that I would like to change if I was making another one. So yeah, I'm really, really, really happy with it. I was learning colour work pretty much on this project. This is only, I think, the second or the third colour work project that I've worked on, and this is, yeah, probably one of the more intricate ones. I did the Sister Claudia cowl, which is where I properly learned colour work. This one is actually a really lovely place to start because you don't have to float any of your yarns. I don't think I floated at all. Because the pattern is so kind of close together. I think the maximum was 5 stitches between each of the colour changes anyway, so I didn't find the need to float any of my yarns. On one of the sleeves, so this was the first sleeve that I did. Now I started on the sleeve because I did want to practice, I think was the main reason why did I start on the sleeve? No, I didn't. No, I started on the body, so ignore what I was saying. One of the sleeves has worked out, like my tension for the colour work was quite tight. I don't know if you can see how it kind of dips in on the edge there compared to the other one, which is a fair amount looser. So this sleeve does actually feel significantly tighter than this one here. This is something that I fixed pretty quickly, and I didn't really realise until I'd knitted all the way up the sleeve, and there was no way in hell I was going to rip back 4 ply. No way. I am not that much of a perfectionist. So on the hem, my tension worked out so much better. That's the inside. It looks so pretty. So yeah, on the hem it worked out totally fine. On the yoke I was really concerned about it being too tight because I could just tell that that would be a nightmare if the yoke was too tight. So, oh, I feel like I'm talking really fast. I'm going to take a sip. So what I did for the yoke to make sure that my colour work would be really nice and loose, because the colour work really is on my shoulders. It does need to be able to stretch. Was that I turned the work inside out, kind of like this, and then my floats were on the outside of the circle, if that makes sense at all. So I was knitting in the same direction, but the yarn kind of had a larger diameter around the outside, so the floats were naturally quite a lot looser. That's a really nice trick that I learned from Sophie at work, who does really enjoy her colour work. So yeah, so I just flipped it to the outside instead, and the floats were just naturally a lot looser that direction, so that worked out really well. So that is my beautiful Stasis pullover. I have got some photos on my Instagram and also on my project page. I haven't done a photo shoot for it yet. I've been waiting until we move up to Ruffy to be able to take some photos in this one, so hold out for those. But I'm just so happy with it. I think the Ella Ray must be kettle dyed because it's got these beautiful tonal changes within the yarn, and I just love that mottled effect. It's so beautiful. So that is my Stasis pullover. And I finished it, and it's actually surprisingly warm. I've only had a couple of days where it's been really quite cool enough for me to wear it at work, for instance, and so I think I'll get a lot more wear out of that once the summer is gone, and yeah, I think I'll probably take it with me to the UK when I go there again. Yeah, so you know, my plans are to spend the next 3 or 4 months in the countryside Victoria, and then we'll be heading off, my partner Tom and I, to India again to volunteer at the mindfulness centre, the Balanced View Centre that we volunteered at last year, and we'll also be going to the UK. It's both my mum and my dad's 50th birthdays in May, so that will be really lovely to be there for those. And I think I will bring this with me so it gets some wear, because at the moment it's definitely spring, it's raining a lot, and we're going anywhere between like 14 to 20, 22 degrees throughout the day. So it's relatively cool by Melbourne standards still, but this is pretty toasty, so I'm not finding much of a need for it at the moment. I'm just kind of staring at it and loving it a lot. So that is my first finished object, and a very big one. I will actually insert some photos in a second of this that I did. I took some kind of quick snaps at the wool shop, Morris and Sons, that I work at, on one of the mannequins, so that you can see what it looks like kind of draped on a form. The mannequin's a lot smaller than I am. I'm kind of a UK 12 to 14 and the mannequin's like a size 8, so it doesn't fit in the same way that it does on my body, but you get an idea. So I'll insert these here. Okay, so another finished object that I have, or finished objects, are my diagonal lace socks. Now this is a pattern by Wendy Johnson, and yeah, the yarn that I used, I'm just so in love with, is a what's she called? Gradient Yarns Australia. There'll be a link to her website in my project notes on my blog. And yeah, this pattern is fantastic. Within a couple of repeats, I had completely memorized it, and I don't have that good of memory for that kind of thing. But if you're looking for a pattern which is a nice alternative to just vanilla socks, just plain stockinette socks, this is a really nice option. And I knit these socks the same way as I usually do. So I do toe-up socks on a 2.5mm 80cm circular needle, and I use the magic loop technique, and which you can learn on YouTube in about 5 minutes. It's not hard at all. And yes, so it's a invisible cast on. I use Judy's Magic Cast On. And then I do equal toe increases. So I cast on 16 stitches onto each needle, and then I knit a row straight, and then I increase a stitch on each side, and then knit a row straight and increase until I hit 32 stitches on each needle, so 64 total. And then I work for about an inch, and then I started the design, and yeah, I just did it on one side, and then I did a fish lips kiss heel, and then I worked for another repeat on the other side, and then I started on both sides, and then I did 2x2 rib actually this time, which I don't think I'll do again. It's not as elastic, I'm not as happy with it. 2x2 rib, and then I did Jenny's Surprisingly Stretchy Bind Off, which has this really nice finish on the edge. So yeah, I'm really happy with them. Very, very happy indeed. So I finished both of those off. I think I had one of them as a finished object last podcast in episode 12, and now they are a pair. And I might pop one on so you can see what they look like. There we go. Really lovely, good summer socks, nice length, so they look really nice just with bare legs and a dress and boots. I'm a real boots person. Can you see how I've got... I'm colour coordinated today. I thought that was quite funny. So yes, I'm very happy with my finished objects. And that is, yeah, all of my finished objects. My little pile of happiness. Okay, so the next things that I'm going to share with you are some projects that I'm working on currently. Some of them are new, I think. Yeah, one of them at least is new. The other ones I can't remember if I shared them last week. Last podcast I probably did. I think the last podcast was about 3 weeks ago now. I'll start with the closest. So I am currently, this is a baby's blanket for some dear friends of mine who are actually trainers within the Balanced View mindfulness practice that I'm part of and volunteer with. And this is a baby's blanket. They're due their little bubba in December, I think. I started off with a wedges knitted blanket from Pearl Soho, and I just wasn't really happy with it. It was also taking a really long time, and I really fancied some crochet. So this is just, I use American terms for crochet, and this is just a double crochet. I think maybe 100 chain and then double crochet all the way along. And I am partway through a colour at the moment. I'm really happy with the colours that I chose. And the colours are this beautiful Dijon mustard, a light kind of minty teal, a kind of very light French grey, and the darker teal. And the yarn that I'm using for this project is Morrison & Sons Estate 8 ply, which is 100% Australian wool. And yeah, there's 100 meters per 50 grams, so I get this much out of every ball, and it's quite a long blanket. So I've just been working on this as and when I feel like it, and yeah, it's really nice. It's really nice for watching with movies just because it's so easy. I don't have to look at what I'm doing. And I'm just using this very, very basic crochet hook that I found in my stash that happened to be a 4.5mm. So yeah, nice little project. Not uber exciting, but I know that they'll really appreciate it when it's finished. And that is that. I'm also working on, so you've seen this one as well. This is the Dance Lightly shawl by Bunny Muff, I think is the designer's name, on Ravelry. I've done a couple of lace repeats on this, so it's worth showing you. I actually have a project keeper from the last time I shared it with you. Let's get it all even. So I've done from this little project keeper here in the last few weeks. It does mean I have to stare at this constantly, and I have to stare at the charts. I haven't memorized it. So yeah, I haven't memorized it at all, so it does take my concentration, so it's not the project I always pick up when I'm tired and coming back from work. But yeah, I'm really enjoying working with it. The colour is just stunning, and the yarn is just so beautiful. This is, surprise, surprise, Manastol Uruguay Fino, which is a silk merino blend. I think it's 30% silk, 70% merino, and it's a Uruguayan fair trade company. And yeah, oh my gosh, you would just, their yarns are just to die for. So they're all hand kettle dyed, so they don't have batch numbers. They have just the signatures of the artisans who have dyed the yarn. It's just incredible. And this is where I'm at, and you can see it's got these beautiful patches of lighter and then darker tones in this really pretty kind of, I guess, cornflowery blue. It's got a touch of kind of lilac-y purple over dye. It's just stunning. And these really pretty, there you go, you can see that better, kind of floral leaf detailing on the edge, and these very pretty picots. And it's just going to be a increasing triangle basically, so I'll be really interested to see what kind of shape, how usable the shape is at the end. I've got 450 meters here, so I think I'm just going to keep on going and make as big a shawl as I can. And yeah, I'm really excited by this project. I love just kind of picking it up and doing a 16 row repeat, and just adding to it a little bit. It's very, very beautiful. I am using actually very different needles to what I normally use. These are Knit Pro still, but they are Knit Pro Symphonies. There we go, if you can see those. They are lacquered birchwood. They're not as grippy as like bamboo needles, for instance, but they are a lot grippier than the Knit Pro Novas, which I normally use. However, the Fino is very, very silky and slippery, so it's actually really nice to have a bit of extra grip. And they are actually really beautiful to use. They warm up in your hands like natural fibre does. So I can see why people love them so much. And I'm just knitting it backwards and forwards on this circular needle. I think it's like a 60 or an 80, maybe a 80 centimetre circular needle. So yes, and that is living. Oh, sorry, the colourway is called Inkwell, which is 2545-70. And yeah, there's 450 metres on here, and it's a hand wash in cold water. 30% silk, 70% extra fine merino. And it is living in my little handmade project bag that I made a while ago out of this really cool geometric triangle fabric. Yeah, little box bottom. So that is that, and I think the other two projects are new, which is pretty exciting. So as soon as spring hit, I had this sudden urge to cast on. I think it was the day after I cast off my Stasis pullover. I really wanted to cast on a cardigan, and it felt a bit silly to cast on a cardigan straight away with wool. The cardigan quantities, the jumper quantities of wool that I have in my stash are all 4-ply wool. And I wanted something which was a bit more kind of instant gratification and also very different from what I'd done previously, just to spice it up a little bit. So I chose to knit the Lush cardigan, which is a pattern by Tin Can Knits, which has been out for maybe 4 or 5 years now. It's been in my queue, or my favourites, for a long time. I don't want to give too much away, but that's the front page of the pattern. So I don't know if you can see here, the cardigan's got a really interesting construction. I think, who was it that's making the Stasis, making the Lush cardigan? There's another podcaster that I watch who just started making the Lush cardigan as well. I'll pop a little note down here because it'll be really interesting to follow along with her project at the same time. She's making hers out of 8-ply wool, and I'm making mine out of 8-ply cotton or linen, so it'll be completely different. So yeah, as you can see, it's got this lace border around here. So you actually create the lace border first, you do a provisional cast on in the middle here, and you knit the lace border and then pick up the provisional and do the same on the way, and then you pick up for the collar and then you pick up down for the rest of the body. So it's a really cool construction. So I am knitting this out of Rosario's for Damasco, which is an eco-friendly blend of, completely forgotten, 70% cotton and 30% linen. So it's certified organic, this one. Really, really pretty. And I've got 4 balls of this. So I think that is 800 meters, which should be enough for a little cropped sleeve cardigan. Fingers crossed. And I chose this really beautiful tone. It's kind of oatmeal with a darker patches in the really kind of rustic. It feels really quite linen-y. It's definitely not a brushed cotton that I'm used to using. And I am currently, so I've worked the first section from the middle back to around my shoulder to the front, and I picked up my provisional cast on, and I am currently knitting in the opposite direction the same amount. It looks so funny at the moment, but you get an idea of what the I don't know if, there we go, that's better. What the lace pattern is looking like. It's this really beautiful kind of leaf design, I guess you could call it. Very pretty. And yeah, there's some really amazing tones in this yarn that I'm using. It's organic cotton linen. Quite patchy. I really enjoy that. I think it'll be a really nice garment to wear over dresses and things in the summer months. So yes, that's something I cast on very recently and I'm really enjoying. If you're interested, this is colour number 3 of the Damasco. Yeah, and the company is Rosario's 4, which is actually a really cool company. They've got a lot of ecologically friendly yarns that you can use. So I'm really enjoying that. It's a really interesting construction and it's also 8 ply, so I have a feeling that once the lace is knitted and blocked and I'm just working in stockinette, it'll knit up very quickly, which is kind of what I was after my 4 ply Stasis. So that is living in my beautiful bag by Judith, who's the pattern designer at Morris & Sons. She gave me this really lovely project bag, which is leopard print on the outside and this really cool red on the inside. Gorgeous, gorgeous bag. So the final project that I'm working on is pretty exciting. It's my second ever designing project, and yeah, the first project that I did, I lost momentum with it, and I still very much want to publish the pattern. I just had to work through some confidence issues, and that's really been blasted through recently. I have this tendency of thinking like, oh, I can't design knitwear because I don't know how to design a jumper right now, or like the most intricate jumper, you know, and forget about all the other points where everybody has to go, where, you know, you learn how to design socks and you learn how to design scarves and then mittens and gloves, and then you go into the garments, and even if you don't ever have to go into the garment making if you don't want to. So yeah, it's nice to have been reminded recently to kind of take it one step at a time and to be really easeful with it, and not just to stare at the end line and try and fly there, but to kind of do the steps along the way. And so this design project, I'm only part way through, so I'm going to share it with you. Just because it's not completed, you won't be able to see the finished pattern yet. It is a sock design. I love knitting socks, and yeah, I really wanted to create a simple colourwork sock that is just a little bit of interest above the vanilla sock, if you will. So yeah, this is where my design is at so far. It's got a contrasting toe. It's also going to have a contrasting cuff. I have done a fish lips kiss heel. I think I'll insert a German short row heel option into the pattern if people don't want to individually purchase the fish lips kiss heel. Designers are asked not to use the fish lips kiss heel in their pattern designs, so I'm going to work out how best to deal with that. And yeah, I am using Knit Picks Stroll in this really beautiful light grey with a hint of green in it. The colour is Dove Heather, and it's very, very beautiful. The contrasting colour I'm using is, sorry, this is all messy, I've had to unpick this a few times, Lost Lake Heather, which is this beautiful dark green tweedy yarn, and this is Stroll Tweed. Both 4-ply Knit Picks yarns, and very, very cost effective as well, and a beautiful sock yarn. They're superwash, so you can pop them in the washing machine, which for me is quite important for my socks. And yeah, so it's going to have this really lovely detail on the cuff, on the top section here, which is going to be a colourwork motif that I don't really want to give too much away about until it's published, but it's very much about my dream of kind of living on the land and living a natural lifestyle, if you will. So these are my my dream socks and my dream colours about my dream life. And yeah, I know a lot of people have a similar dream to me in that regard, so I think there'll be some people who would love to knit these as well. I'm really happy with how the yarn is knitting up. It works perfectly for colour work on socks. It's really lovely and grippy, but it's also very, very soft and with a little bit of fluff as well. So I'm going to finish off this sock. This is the third time that I've been knitting this colourwork chart, just kind of making sure I get it just perfect, and I'm really happy with it now. So this is going to be the finished sock, and there'll be another one on the needles very shortly. This project is living in my brand new little boxy bag that my wonderful friend Sophie made for me. She came in to work with it for me, and it was such a surprise. And she's actually free machine patchworked over the top of this gorgeous fabric. Yeah, it's just such a lovely bag. So I'm very, very excited about all of my projects that I'm working on at the moment. I think I've got, 4 works in progress that I'm working on, and then 2 finished objects. So I feel pretty good about that. I'm really excited about starting to design, and I can't wait to keep you guys updated on when my patterns are ready to be published and also test knitted. Yeah, it feels so exciting to just feel like I just can design and I can learn as I go, because I love, love, love to knit, and it's so, it feels like just the next stage of my knitting journey, and I do have so many ideas, and I can't wait to share them with you guys. So keep your ears open for those design projects, and do check out my blog as well. So the blog's www.creativenaturally.wordpress.com. I'll have it down on the screen as well. Yeah, I'm posting pretty regularly there, and I will be in the near future as well. So do check out the couple of interviews that I've done with Great Ocean Road Wool and Mill, and also Annie of Close Knit. I have some other interviews in the pipelines as well, which I'm really excited about. And it's just so lovely to get to chat with creative people and just see where they're at within their businesses and their creative drive, and where they get their inspiration from, and how they, learn all their crafts. And I love finding out all those interesting details. So yeah, it's really lovely to share that with you guys as well. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for subscribing. Again, when I hit 500 subscribers, there will be a giveaway, so I can't wait for that. Fingers crossed that will be before next podcast, which will be in a couple of weeks, I think. And until then, happy knitting, and it's been amazing chatting with you guys. Head on over to Instagram and say hi, and follow me along there. And yeah, I hope you're doing well wherever you are in the world. Okay, bye.